Welcome to the Three Martini Lunch. Grab a stool next to Greg Columbus of Radio America and Jim Garrity of National Review. Three Martinis coming up.
Very glad you're with us for the Friday edition of the Three Martini Lunch. Yes, we've made it to the end of another week. Jim Garrity is away today here in his place once again. Scott Bertram, General Manager, WRFH, Radio Free Hillsdale, 101.7 FM on the campus of Hillsdale College. He's also the director of the Hillsdale College Podcast Network, hosts lots of different podcasts, including Wasn't That Special, 50 Years of Saturday Night Live, and I just to brag on Scott a little bit, his station once again has been named the Michigan College Radio Station of the Year. I believe that's a three-peat and 4 and 6 years. Is that right, Scott?
Well, you can't say three-peat, otherwise you got to pay Pat Riley. So say back to back to back. Yes, it's 3 in a row, and it might be 4 and 7 years. We won in 2019, and there's a technicality on which we lost in between there, so really it should have been another one, but I can't, complain too much. 3 in a row is pretty good.
It's like Reagan complaining that he really won Minnesota, kind of.
Right. Yes. Yeah. It's unseemly.
So let's get to our Three Martinis today. We're going to be talking about what our clock should be like all year round. President Trump has weighed in on the permanent time debate. We're also going to talk about the SAVE Act, which passed the House and is now headed to the Senate, but the Democrats are claiming it's voter suppression, of course. But first, let's talk a little bit about consumer choice. Some people see this as kind of a frivolous issue. I see it as the government staying out of an area where they really have no business being in the first place. So we kind of referred to it yesterday in passing when we were talking about Gretchen Whitmer being in the Oval Office with President Trump. One of the things the president was doing while he was in the Oval Office there was signing an executive order giving consumers more choice in terms of the pressure of their shower heads. Can you imagine the founding fathers contemplating shower heads, first of all, but also thinking about government regulating the way people take showers. So here's that exchange, which is awfully funny as well as important.
This executive order, we're effectively going to be reversing that set of regulations to ensure that Americans have choice in the consumer market. If they want a low-flow shower head, they can buy one. If they want a real-deal shower head, they should have the ability to get one.
That's true. If you buy a new house, you pay a lot of money, and the developers, you're not allowed to do anything more. They put restrictors on. They used to have a restrictor where you could take it out, but now they weld it in. And you take a shower or wash your hands, whatever you do, including dishwashers where no water comes out. But you wash your hands, and in my case, I like to take a nice shower to take care of my beautiful hair. I have to stand under the shower for 15 minutes till it gets wet. It comes out drip, drip, drip. It's ridiculous. And what you do is you end up washing your hands 5 times longer. It's the same water. And we're going to open it up so that people can live, and we're going to hopefully have Congress approve it so it's memorialized.
And not only that, Senate Republicans, according to Daily Caller, continued their campaign Thursday to roll back stringent energy regulations that were issued during the final months of President Biden's term. The Senate voted to repeal a Biden Department of Energy regulation banning some natural gas water heaters by 2029. That heads to Trump's desk, which I assume he will sign. No Republican senators voted against it. The 2 Georgia Democrats voted for it because Renai, which makes those tankless water heaters, is based in Georgia, and there's a lot of jobs on the line. And so John Thune, the Senate Majority Leader of the American people, called for a new direction this past November, and the Trump administration and the Republican majorities in Congress have wasted no time getting to work to provide relief from burdensome regulations, especially when it comes to energy, whether it's through higher utility bills or higher costs at the grocery store or for other goods. It's the American people who ultimately bear the cost of these rules. It's why we're working hard to eliminate these and many other regulatory burdens. And so, Scott, this is about simple freedom. The government never should have been involved in this stuff in the first place, and it's good that the Republicans are peeling this back.
It makes consumers happy, and that's not a small thing when you're trying to actually win votes. It's not a small deal. Seinfeld made fun of it.
Yes.
Kramer's hair didn't look very good with the low-flow shower heads.
Correct.
And I tell you, there is nothing. One of life's most underappreciated pleasures is the hot shower. The ability to turn turn the dial, turn the crank, and you get hot water immediately, and you can take a hot shower in the morning and start your day. It's amazing. And if you have any extended power outages, one reason why. And to have the proper water flow. This is a big deal. The great Noah Rothman has written about this at National Review and elsewhere. The war on things that work. Democrats in Washington and in states and in municipalities saying no, you can't use that thing you love and does the job you want it to do, whether it be gas stoves, which they denied they were coming after, but then admitted it was Richard Trumka. So, yeah, we might just ban those things. Dishwashers, as the president mentioned, lawnmowers, gas-powered leaf blowers. I don't know what kind of a lot you have, Greg. I've got about an acre here, and we've got a tree in the front yard. I think it's an oak. I'm not a tree guy. But, massive, huge leaves. And a battery-powered leaf blower ain't moving that thing anywhere. You need the gas power to get the job done. And Democrats have been attacking these things now for years and banning them and restricting them. And there's a lot of communities that don't allow gas-powered lawn equipment in any form these days. And it just drives people nuts. Drives me nuts. And I'm sure it drives other people nuts, too, that you can't use the thing that works to get the job done. Dishwasher cleans your dishes. Nope, sorry, banned. Use this one that sort of cleans dishes. You got to have the front-loaded washer, which we've had now for some years since moving into a new house. And it's okay, but it stinks. And you have all sorts of other issues that pop up when you have the front-loaded washer as opposed to the washer you put the clothes in from the top. Light bulbs, not to go back to the old standard of light bulbs, but... the LEDs are better than the Curly Q CFLs, but, you look at the box, Greg, what does it say? It's good for 10 years.
Yeah, right.
I'm changing one of those every week somewhere in the house. It's ridiculous. They last nowhere near what's promised. And at least the LEDs now are slightly closer to what we had previously with incandescent, but you keep making these changes. Things work worse. You promise 10 years, they last 2 years. And people know and people notice. And so, it sounds like a small thing. You have the higher floor, but you take a shower every day. You wash your hands now, the post-COVID era, 6 times a day. You wash your hands a lot. It means something every day to not deal with that hassle. And being the president who makes your life easier is probably not the worst tag to have on yourself.
Yeah, no doubt about it. We don't ask for much in life. Having a shower the way we want it is one of those things, and the government has no business being involved. You mentioned the real and then pretend and then real again war on gas-powered appliances. It's one of those things, just like so many other issues, where the Democrats say, oh, well, that's not happening. But now that you mention it, we probably should ban that. But they couldn't do it legislatively. They couldn't do it before the election, so they quietly put in these, administrative state regulations during the lame duck period. And thankfully, since they did it that way, it's that easy to get rid of them. Long before you moved to Michigan, Scott, but you may have noticed this at the time, there was a congressman from Michigan named Joe Nolenberg who was on a crusade against the low-flow toilets because he wanted to actually, think one flush and you're done should be the deal. And we've been dealing with that insanity now for a couple of decades. It's just ridiculous how the government sticks its tentacles into areas where it just doesn't belong at all and just makes things worse. It's not affecting the climate. It's just making everybody's life more inconvenient.
Not anymore, Greg. You get the showerhead you want now.
That's right. The golden age. It's the golden age.
You can go way back in the closet where you keep those items that have been banned by the government, the contraband. Bring them out into the open. Bring your friends over and you tour the house and show them proudly your high-flow showerhead.
Scott mentioned his yard and how he's got a lot of leaves in the fall, but I bet it looks fantastic in the spring. And for you to get your yard all set to go in the spring, Fast Growing Trees. Fast Growing Trees, did you know they're the biggest online nursery in the United States with thousands of different plants and more than 2 million happy customers? It's because Fast Growing Trees offers a wide selection of plants, from fruit and privacy trees to shrubs, all tailored to your climate and your space. They've got easy ordering, quick delivery, expert support, landscaping advice, and even their Alive and Thrive guarantee, which means your plants will arrive healthy and ready to thrive, or they'll send you a new one and make sure that you're satisfied with that. We've had so many plants from Fast Growing Trees, been very satisfied with the fig and the monstera and the spice plants, which Mrs. Columbus has incorporated into the meals. We're about to get the snake plant. We've had the lemon plant. So many different varieties there for your yard, for your house. Check them out, fastgrowingtrees.com/martini. So this spring, get up to 50% off select plants at fastgrowingtrees.com/martini. Plus, use the code Martini at checkout for an additional 15% off your first purchase. Visit fastgrowingtrees.com/martini and use the code Martini. Now's the perfect time to plant. Offer valid for a limited time. Terms apply. fastgrowingtrees.com/martini. All right, Scott, on to our kind of a good and bad martini. The good news is that the SAVE Act passed the House of Representatives earlier this week, 220 to 208. All 216 Republicans who were there voted for it, as well as 4 Democrats who are now pariahs in their own party for backing this GOP Voter Suppression Act, as the Democrats like to pretend that it is. Eric Swalwell has now, and I think this is his own guy that did this video because it's his account that that started this video. He's acting like, oh, I can't imagine you're out here. Yes, I'll answer your question. You'll hear the bleeps in here. The Democrats continue to work blue, whether it's Chris Murphy talking about funding of the government or something else. But nonetheless, the Democrats think they've got a winning message on this legislation, which is just designed to make sure that all voters are actually citizens.
Hey, Congressman.
Hey, what's happening? You're everywhere, man.
Yeah. What the is going on with the SAVE Act?
Oh, you mean the Save the Republicans Act? It's the only way they can win elections is by making it absolutely impossible for people to vote. The SAVE Act would make it impossible. It'd be a ban on married women from voting. Why? Because it would require you to have your birth certificate to prove who you are to go and vote. Well, married women who change their name, they're not going to have a document that shows that. So it's crazy. It's just another way to obstruct people from going to the ballot box. All it does is save Republicans. It doesn't save our democracy.
Eric Swalwell's a bad actor. He obviously knew that question was coming. It was all staged. But he's also wrong on the merits. Big surprise coming from him. Hans von Spakovsky over at the Heritage Foundation has forgotten more about election law than most of us will ever know. He explains how this, first of all, is the exact same argument that the Democrats were trotting out a couple of decades ago when states were trying to require photo ID to vote.
Remember, 20 years ago is when states first started putting in photo ID requirements to vote. You know, Georgia and Indiana were some of the first states to do that. They used that exact same argument back then. They said, oh, married women, because they change their names, they won't be able to meet this requirement. That, of course, didn't happen.
And then he says there are many different ways for women who have gotten married and changed their names to prove they are who they were on their birth certificate. And he says even if those other alternate forms of ID aren't an option, there are provisions in this act to make sure that you don't lose your right to vote.
What the critics don't tell you is there's a provision in it. It's very short. Can I read it to you? Process in case of certain discrepancies of documentation. Every state shall establish a process under which an applicant can provide such additional documentation to the appropriate election official as necessary to establish that they are a U.S. citizen.
And so, Scott, first of all, what do you make of the Democrats continuing to think that being edgy and cussing all the time is a way to make their message get through? And what do you make of their spin job about the fact that they can't support legislation requiring that only citizens should be eligible to vote?
If I told you what I thought about the profanity, you'd have to bleep me, too. And we don't want that to happen on this fine 3 Martini Lunch podcast. It's clearly a intentional act to begin peppering speeches and press releases with various forms of profanity. It makes them feel real and attached to the people. I don't think it's necessarily effective in any way. And I, for one, and I'd say this about both sides. I do say this. I don't like the coarsening of public discourse, and this is not helping that in any way, shape, or form, clearly. Swalwell's comments, it's fun to hear him say it's the only way that Republicans can win elections, forgetting what happened some scant 5 months ago in November when Donald Trump won the popular vote and the Electoral College, and Republicans won the House. Right? Republicans are doing just fine in many elections across the country, with or without SAVE. But, you know, Greg, we just had here in Michigan, I don't know if Jim and you talked about this, a Secretary of State here in Michigan confirmed we had 16 total, at least 16 non-citizens cast a vote in the November election. At least 16. There was one that we knew about, made a big deal about back in October, the Chinese national student at Michigan Ann Arbor, and 15 others were found, at least. And I think it's the Secretary of State in Iowa that had a similar findings of around 30, 40 non-citizens voting. I might have the state wrong. I apologize if I do. That's 16 here in Michigan. And anytime this pops up, the contention is it's not that many. It wouldn't have affected a federal election. And I despise that argument because you and I both have seen elections that go down to single digits in terms of the outcome, and in some cases, straight out ties. And these people who vote in federal elections get the ballot, which means they can vote in every single other race on that ballot, which is county board and trustees, whatever it might be. I covered a guy once who won his primary by a single vote, went on the general election, and won the general election also by a single vote. And it was a smaller, board of trustees, village trustees kind of election. But if a non-citizen is voting, he or she can vote in any race that's on the ballot. And once it's cast, you can't do a thing about it. That's why preventative measures are so important in preventing non-citizens from voting. And no citizen should have his vote canceled by a non-citizen voting, period. It's a very easy case to make. Such an easy case to make that even in Wisconsin, just last week, when the liberal Supreme Court justice won by, I think, 11 points was the final margin of victory, the same voters voted 63-37, 26-point margin to enshrine voter ID in the Wisconsin Constitution. This is a 75-25, 80-20 type issue that a majority of Americans agree with, that elections should be safe and secure, and non-citizens should not be voting in our elections. Hans did a great job of explaining why the messaging that Democrats are pushing, that Eric Swalwell was pushing about married women being denied the right to vote isn't true. States have wide latitude under the legislation to enact their own regulations for how people can provide documentation to account for that fact. It should not be a problem. And people need that sort of documentation all the time. It should not be. It is not too much to ask to have it to sort of validate that you are eligible to vote in our elections, to protect democracy, Greg. That's what it's all about.
No, exactly right. So many thoughts swirling in my head. First of all, this only applies to people newly registering to vote. So if you're already registered to vote, there's nothing else you need to do.
And in like 8 or 9 states, Greg, an enhanced driver's license is enough.
Yes.
So in 8 or 9 states, all you need is the thing you already have in your wallet.
Yeah, it's incredible. Plus, we know the Democrats want to have non-citizens voting. They almost got it done in New York City until the state court system got it shut down. And I think there are some places around the country, or at least in local elections, that non-citizens can vote. Doesn't mean they're here illegally, but they might be able to vote too. Who knows in some of these situations. Also, if the Democrats really thought that married women weren't going to be able to vote, they'd probably be for it, because married women tend to vote more Republican. It's the single women that are lopsidedly for Democrats. And finally, on the working blue, I've mentioned this before, and I think I mentioned it mainly in response to Joe Biden cussing in response to the Hur report and saying, how the bleep dare he ask me that question, which Hur never asked him. Biden brought it up and couldn't remember when his son passed away. It reminds me of a sign that my high school history teacher, Mr. Horowitz, had just above his blackboard that read, "Profanity does not make a man out of a boy. It merely shows a feeble mind trying to express itself, and in the process, diminishing the character of the one speaking." So I'll just let his wisdom sit there for Eric Swalwell, Chris Murphy, the Squad, and all these other people who think that
Terry Duckworth in Illinois.
Any of these people that think they're going to, score points with, I guess, Gen Z or millennials or somebody as a result of the fact that they're really, really mad about this, and somehow if they throw in a few expletives that somehow they make their point stronger. They don't. They just look stupid, and hopefully the American people are watching.
By the way, how is Chuck Schumer going to stop the SAVE Act in the Senate now that it's passed the House? Would he potentially use that racist remnant of our awful past, the filibuster, to stop the SAVE Act in the Senate? Yes. I certainly would hope not, but we'll have to wait and see.
It all depends on the circumstances. And yes, sadly, it would require 7 Democrats, assuming all the Republicans are on board, to go along with it, which is probably a tall order at this point. So the SAVE Act probably not going to get done, but I'd love to be surprised on that. I'm not going to hold my breath. Also, don't need to hold your breath when it comes to making sure your business is running smoothly. There are certain things you can control and certain things you can't when it comes to your business. The markets, interest rates, inflation, that's out of your power. But other things, especially automation-wise, you can be in control. And for more than 38,000 businesses, they have future-proofed their operations with NetSuite by Oracle, the leading cloud ERP platform, which integrates key business functions like accounting, financial management, inventory, and HR into one seamless system, ensuring that your business is ready for the future. You can gain real-time insights and forecasting to make proactive, data-driven decisions, and you can close your books in days, not weeks, which means you spend less time on past reports and more time focusing on future growth. As I've said many times, the small business experts that I interview and the small business owners, they will tell you, look, focus on the things that, first of all, you do best, and secondly, that are most important for your business. Let these tools exist now, use them, and no tool's better than NetSuite by Oracle to take care of the accounting, the HR, and all that. So whether your company is earning millions or even hundreds of millions, NetSuite helps you respond to immediate challenges and seize your biggest opportunities. And speaking of opportunity, download the CFO's Guide to AI and Machine Learning at netsuite.com/martini. The guide is free to you at netsuite.com/martini. That's netsuite.com/martini. All right, if you thought Scott Bertram was fired up about having consumer choice about showerhead pressure and water heaters and all that sort of stuff, light bulbs, just wait. This latest one is you're going to see the full fury of Scott Bertram. I don't want to put any pressure on you here, Scott, but nonetheless, President Trump has weighed in again. He's weighed in before on the situation with the clocks and whether we should keep it the way it is or go to full-time daylight saving time or keep it full-time standard time. But now he has weighed in, at least for the moment, in favor of full-time daylight saving time. Sending out on social media today, quote, the House and Senate should push hard for more daylight at the end of a day. Very popular. And most importantly, no more changing of the clocks. A big inconvenience. And for our government, a very costly event. All caps, 3 exclamation points, signed DJT. So, Scott, I know you are firmly in camp permanent standard time. So as this debate rages, and there are now congressional hearings on this, so it's possible we'll actually get some legislation on this. What do you make of the president, for the moment, standing with the folks on the permanent daylight saving time?
Greg, I'm a lover spurned. I feel betrayed. December 13th, 2024 on Truth Social, Donald Trump. The Republican Party will use its best efforts to eliminate daylight saving time, which has a small but strong constituency, but shouldn't. Daylight saving time is inconvenient and very costly to our nation. He was right then. He is wrong now, which is why I begin calling on Congress to begin the impeachment process over this issue of changing clocks to the wrong setting, not to daylight saving, but to standard time. Standard time. Okay, let me back up and be serious for a second. We're a bunch of whiners. This is not a big deal. Change your clock twice a year. Take a day or two to adjust. It's no big deal. All right. Now, if we're going to do something, clearly it's standard time, not daylight saving time. What was your major here, Greg, at Hillsdale? History. Great. So you know. People who don't know history are doomed to repeat it. Yes. We tried this. We did this back in the 1970s for energy efficiency, saving fuel, saving energy. December 14th, 1973, Congress voted to go to permanent daylight saving time for 2 years. No clock changes for 2 years. By the end of January of 74, that would be a month, you had people saying, this is ridiculous, stop it. You had a number of children who were injured in early morning car crashes because it is pitch black in areas as children are getting off to school. People didn't like it. You had politicians saying this is a huge mistake. Let's stop it, please. In December of 73, 79% wanted permanent daylight saving time. By March of 74, 3 months later, that dropped to 42%. People hated it. People didn't like it. It didn't work. We should learn from this and not repeat the mistake of going to permanent daylight savings time. Why? Our bodies are better suited for standard time. It's why it's called, and stay with me, standard time. Our rhythms are more in line with standard time. And people say, isn't it great to have daylight so late in the day? No, it's not. I sit here on the western edge of the eastern time zone in south central Michigan. And in the summer, it's bright past 10 o'clock at night. Fireworks displays here can't begin until 10:30, 10:45, if you actually want to see what's happening up in the sky. And I'm certain that people who love daylight saving time are not parents. If you are a parent and have to put your kid to bed at 8 o'clock with 2.5 hours of sunlight left, you get ridiculous questions like, why am I going to bed? It's still bright outside. Yes, I know, little Timmy, but it's bedtime. But it's bright outside. I know. Go to bed. You would much rather have daylight at the... at some point, you ramp down your day. Why would you want it to be bright when you're ramping down your day? You want it to be bright when you're beginning your day to help you get up and start the day. By the way, in the incredibly hot summer months, and I don't like the summer. I don't like the heat. So this is a big deal for me. Would you rather have more light at the end of the day when everything's been heated to 140 degrees with humidity, or would you rather have slightly more light early in the day when you can get out and get things done? Take a bike ride, go for a run, move mulch across your yard before it gets heated up. More daylight earlier in the day, much better. There are places where sunrise would be 9 a.m. under permanent daylight savings time, which is utterly ridiculous. So all those reasons and more, we have the Make America Healthy Again movement now, and I'm surprised they don't take this up because science tells us standard time far superior to daylight savings time. If we're going permanent with one, it's got to be standard time.
No, I think that makes sense. And there are states that have the same time all year round, Arizona and Hawaii in particular. And I know Arizona for sure.
Arizona specifically is because of the heat. They say make it bright earlier when it's only 82 at 6 a.m. as opposed to 112 at 7 p.m.
And I'm with you. I think if you're going to change it, that obviously makes the most sense, especially since we've already run this experiment. It was a complete disaster in the 70s. I'm wondering if that was, perhaps a reason that Nixon ended up getting forced out for signing that ridiculous piece of legislation. Just kidding. But also, when we were growing up, Scott, the adults in the world were World War II vets, Greatest Generation, maybe Silent Generation, certainly under that. There was never all this whining about changing the clocks twice a year. Yes, it's annoying, especially the one where you lose the hour of sleep. And if you have little kids and to some extent pets, and then the first few days they're a little bit out of whack. But I don't remember a society-wide meltdown over this. It was just, hey, the clocks are changing this weekend. Don't forget.
And for kids, sometimes they wouldn't even notice because you do it while they were sleeping, right? And
sure.
Maybe they'd be tired the next day, but you deal with it. I've heard some people say instead of doing it at 2 a.m., do it in the middle of the day, like at noonish or wherever across the country, so you can adjust the middle of your day as opposed to your sleep schedule. I have no idea if that's better or worse. But yeah, it seems the past maybe decade, tops, that we've had this, oh man, it's such a hassle, changing clock. And by the way, changing clocks has never been easier because everything's digital and on a phone, and you don't even have to go and reset things at this point in many places in the house. So, yeah. Stop whining, probably number one. Two, if we're going to whine and have it one way or the other, clearly it's standard time, not daylight savings time. We want permanent.
Scott, thanks so much for filling in for Jim today. Have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you later next week.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Greg.
Scott Bertram is the general manager of WRFH, Radio Free Hillsdale, 101.7 on the campus of Hillsdale College. He's also the director of the Hillsdale College Podcast Network and host of the Radio Free Hillsdale Hour. I'm Greg Corombos. Thanks so much for being with us today. Please subscribe to the 3 Martini Lunch podcast. If you don't already, tell your friends about us as well. Thanks also for your 5-star ratings and your kind reviews. Please keep those coming. Get us on your home devices. All you have to say is play 3 Martini Lunch podcast. Follow us all on X. Scott is at Scott Bertram with 1 T in Scott. Jim is at Jim Garrity. I'm at Greg Corombos. Have a great weekend. Join us again Monday for the next 3 Martini Lunch.